Hi, everybody. We are so excited to do this special podcast for Volunteers Week. We've got a really interesting, diverse group of volunteers who've been volunteering at Volunteering Matters for some time together just to talk about really their experience of volunteering, what motivates them to volunteer, and the difference that it's made to them, but also the people that they've helped along the way. My name's Amanda Naylor. I'm the Chief Exec Officer at Volunteering Matters, and I've been here around a year. I've worked in the volunteer sector for voluntary organisations for the last 30 years, and I've also been a volunteer myself since being a very young girl, around 14, when I was a St John's Ambulance volunteer, and still volunteer in a range of trustee roles and as a befriend for a young woman with autism. So I'm going to go to David first. David, do you want to say a little bit about yourself, where you do your volunteering, and how long have you been volunteering in that role?
I live in Pembrokeshire. At the moment, I volunteer with Volunteering Matters. I'm also a street pastor. I first came to volunteering when I was about 17. A guy in the year above me who had just come back from Africa, volunteering with VSO. It just set a seed going. And I had an opportunity to go with VSO in my early 30s, and it's just kept on going from there, really.
That's great. Thank you, David. And a fun fact, Volunteering Matters was, when it was first founded as an organisation, was called CSV. And it was founded by the same people who founded VSO. And I also went to be a VSO volunteer in Kazakhstan for 4 years, about 20 years ago now. So yeah, very similar route in, which is great. Thank you for joining us. Now over to Tilly, our youngest member of the panel today.
So I'm only 14, so I'm really young, you guys. I haven't been volunteering for that long. I think I've only been volunteering for like a year and a half. I started when I was 12. I'd heard from a friend that they needed some help in a group called UIA, which I'm still in, and I helped with young researchers, and I helped with this young women's group, The World Better for young women across the South Coast and things like that. I also work with I Will.
So that's the social action piece, isn't it? So really like young people coming together and a bit like your young women's work, influencing and making things different for other young people, right?
Yeah, that's what I do. I do a lot of reflection.
Yeah. Thanks, Tilly. That's great.
Thank you.
Adesoji, over to you.
Thank you very much, Amanda. So I'm a cybersecurity professional. I immigrated to the UK sometime in 2023, and I've actually been volunteering before I moved to the UK. There's an organization in Nigeria called Cyber Girls. What this organization does is they train girls in cybersecurity for free to equip them to be able to get a job in cybersecurity and be able to add value to organizations. I've been in cybersecurity for like 15 years. When I arrived in the UK, Volunteering Matter reached out to me through Rachel. But the thing is, before I moved to the UK, I actually said to myself, when I arrived at the UK, I was going to volunteer because I love to add value to people. What sometimes we don't realize is that you're adding value to that person, you're adding value to generations unborn. You're adding value to everyone who is connected to that individual. So when Rachel reached out to me, I'm like, oh, this is a good opportunity. I live in Scotland. They were looking for someone to help mentor someone in Dundee in cybersecurity like this. You know, a perfect opportunity.
It's meant to be. So
I just popped onto it and here I am today. And I'm still looking forward to more opportunities to add value to people. So that's me.
Well, welcome and thank you. And yeah, that skill-based volunteering, we'll talk a little bit more about that as the podcast goes on, but the skills that everybody individually brings to the world of volunteering is what makes it so exciting and diverse. And finally, Ella, over to you.
Hi, I'm 24 and from London, and I'm an ambassador for I Will. I joined as an ambassador last year, but I've been volunteering for over 5 years now. I started when I was 18. I became a volunteer and ambassador for a mental health charity because I experienced various mental illnesses as a young teen and wanted to be involved and help other young people and share my experiences, wanting to be a part of I Will and really expand to different areas of youth social action, and love getting to meet loads of different people in areas that I've experienced, that I'm passionate about. And then also what else volunteering takes you to. Like this year, I also started volunteering at a cemetery, which is a bit different to the other things, but I love all of them and the experiences that come with it.
Thank you. What a really interesting introduction we've had from people who've come to us because of their skill base or because of a lived experience that they wanted to improve for others, and those that have had those volunteer journeys that might have spent decades. There are so many forms of volunteering and reasons that people volunteer. And let's start with that, really. I guess my first question would be, what's the main reason you continue to volunteer? And what's the biggest difference it's made to you as an individual volunteering? Who wants to start with that? Soji's moving.
So the reason I actually enjoy volunteering is I love to help people. I love to see people succeed. In the world, we have lots of conflict, lots of hate. Now, volunteering affords me the opportunity to change that, to help people. We have a lot of people going through grief because they just need help. And the thing is, we all know in part, we all have different values, different capabilities. Something that you need to come out of that grief, difficulty, challenge just might be with someone else. And I consider myself to be that person. That's one reason why I love to volunteer. I like it when I see people smile because of the way I've added value to them. And I've seen people smile that way. It's not about the money. It's about the joy. I've come to realize that when you support people through volunteering, you're not just impacting that person. So those are the things that comes to my mind whenever I volunteer. I try to see the ripple effect of that. So let me just stop there, because once I get talking, I really just...
But I love that. I love what you've just done is embody, really. We've got a quote. We've got a new volunteering strategy at Volunteering Matters that's going to be taking us through the next 5 years. And the first quote that we use is something we worked on as an organisation together, which is, volunteering is an act of optimism. And it's a quiet rebellion of the idea that one person can't make a difference. And what you're describing, Soji, isn't it, about, you don't always know the impact you're going to make on that person for the rest of your life, but you go into that volunteering relationship thinking, I could make a difference here that's much bigger than me and much bigger than this interaction, that could have a ripple effect that makes a difference across generations. And I think that's a really powerful driver, isn't it, for volunteering? I'm going to come to David. What about you? What is it that makes you want to get out and continue volunteering? And what difference do you feel it makes?
It's just within me. God's put something in me, and when it comes out, you feel right about it.
Yeah.
There was a very sort of influential moment in my life when I had a motorbike and I was driving up the M1 and it was starting to have problems. So I went into Northampton, and this is in the days before mobile phones. Used to have telephone boxes with copies of the telephone directory. Yes, I am that old.
Tilly, you won't remember those.
I found a motorcycle shop and rang the number, and it was off duty. It was late at night. And they told me where to go, and I parked it outside, and I was just about to think of where I would then get to the station, because I had to travel on from Northampton to Nuneaton. And a guy pulled up on a motorbike, and he was the brother of the guy who owned the shop, who'd had a call to say, don't leave the bike outside the shop. So I followed into his house. I left the bike outside his house. But then he said, where were you going? I said, Nuneaton. He said, hop on. I said, well, what do you mean? You want to just take me to the station? And he took me all the way to my parents' house.
Wow.
And he would not accept anything for it. It's a fair way. And when I asked him why, he said, well, one day, if I help others, it sort of plants a seed in them. And one day I might need help. And there'll be somebody there who has been helped, who then helps me. So it was a sort of like a circular thing. But you see that when I'm out doing a street pastor shift, and you're trying to just help vulnerable people. They've had too much enjoyment, usually in the form of alcohol. They just say, well, you're raising the bar. You're prompting other people. And you're not doing it for that reason. But isn't it great if we can impact others like that?
Absolutely. Those acts of kindness that make a movement.
Yeah.
Really.
Volunteering is an opportunity to be kind.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. Great way of looking at it. Ella, I'm going to come to you because obviously you had very personal reasons, I think, for starting your volunteering journey. What difference has volunteering made to you, I guess, as a person? And what's been the most surprising thing maybe you've learned about volunteering?
I did start volunteering for personal reasons. And I think one of the amazing things about volunteering is that for so long when I was a young teen and I was in that position, I felt like I didn't know who to talk to and my voice wasn't being heard. And then when I was 18 and I wanted to share my experience and to help others, I didn't know what to do. I was just a person. I wasn't going to become, say, in the mental health space. I wasn't a therapist. I didn't have a degree. I didn't know how to help people, even who to help. So being involved as a volunteer, it gives you such an amazing platform because it partners you with other people who also share, your passions about helping people, but it also gives you support and a way of engaging with people where you wouldn't, it's hard to just find that without an organization and a network. When I first approached volunteering, I thought I really want to help other people, say young teens, like I want to help them grow through this. And yeah, I don't think I expected it necessarily to be something that really helps me grow as a person, but it really did too. I learned so much about myself and who I am and what else I can do and like what other power I can have with my voice being heard and change that I can make. So yeah, as well as helping other people, it helped me so much too, which is a really wonderful thing.
That's amazing, Ella. And Tilly, I guess your group work, coming together as a group of young women to make a difference, has probably changed your life in lots of different ways as well. Do you want to share some of the things it's changed for you?
I think doing work like that has changed me a lot. It's really helped me. Obviously, as a young person, as Ella was saying, it is really hard. You don't know what to do, how to live, because you just feel like you're alone all the time. And feeling like that at such a young age isn't good. And coming together, like in my group, I realized that I wasn't alone and that there is people that feel the same that can help me. And I think it's really wholesome. It's heartwarming. Like, I know that I now have a safe space where I can share experiences, where I can share how I feel, where I can get help and where other people can get help. I think it being in a group makes it 10 times better because it's like a second family. And if you already don't have a good family, then it's just like a family that you needed to begin with. It's changed me as a person entirely. I was this young teen, which I still obviously, but I had no confidence. I struggled with social situations. I struggled with composing myself, sharing my opinion, just getting my voice heard. And when you get together in a group like that, you get your voice heard, you get validated, and you see like how wonderful stuff like that can be.
That's really interesting, isn't it? Because we think one of the things you can do as a volunteer is help alleviate other people's loneliness. And quite often in society, we often think it's older people that are maybe lonely. And certainly at Volunteering Matters, we've got a lot of older people's programs and where, alleviating loneliness is really important. But actually, loneliness happens at all stages of your life, particularly if you haven't got your people or a cause or people don't understand the things that are important to you. So actually what you're saying is volunteering has helped address your loneliness and helped you find people that are, challenging you in really supportive ways and there for you when you need them and helping you have your voice heard, which is an incredible thing for you too, right? In terms of your development of skills and getting ready for the workplace and everything that's to come in your life. It sounds like it's been a great preparation. Yeah. So moving on from that really, and I think Tilly's inspired this next bit, is what do you think the biggest difference you've made to an individual or to society as a whole through volunteering? Have you got an example, anybody, of knowing that you've made a real difference and what that difference has been? Have you had any feedback from people you've been volunteering with that have said you really made a difference to me, without sharing names or anything that's confidential? Who's like to talk about that? I'll let you have a think. David?
Well, just relay out the story from early days working as a street pastor in Cardiff. We found a young woman. She was in a doorway. She was very tiddly. It was winter. She just had thin clothing on. I think she'd bare feet. She'd lost her shoes. She'd lost her friends. And one of my colleagues sort of looked through her handbag. There was no money in there, no ID or anything like that. But she saw a little zipped pocket, opened it, and there was a credit card. And we then walked this young lady from this dark doorway to a cash machine. Thankfully, she could remember her PIN number. She got some money out. And then we walked about, I think we probably gave her a pair of flip-flops as well, just to sort of, avoid the broken glass. So
Yeah. Being there when somebody needs you, when they've been abandoned, actually, is really an important point sometimes of volunteering.
it's a combination of abandoning themselves in a way.
Yeah. And we all get there sometimes, don't we? We get in those places that we just need a little bit of a helping hand, actually, places that we wouldn't normally find ourselves. Any other examples of where what you've done has really had an impact or made a difference?
So let me give an example. So my first volunteer here in the UK went very well. And I'm very happy to actually put myself in to take up that mentoring. This is someone who he's been in the UK for a while. He's been driving taxi, but he has a passion for cybersecurity. And the first time I had a conversation with him, he was in a state of despair. I don't think I'll be wrong if I say hopelessness, because he never thought he could get into cybersecurity. And I started talking to him, started encouraging him. And in the course of the mentoring, he wrote one of the cybersecurity certifications and he passed the exam, which was a very good start for him. Now, to cut the long story short, the thing is, as we speak, he's actually currently working in technology, in cybersecurity, doing what he loves to do. Anytime I look at his profile, I'm really happy because that's someone you've also impacted. It's somebody you never knew from anywhere. You just volunteered to add value to someone, to guide someone in a journey they know how to start. And it's something they're passionate about. And here we are, the person is already doing something in that area and is making progress. So I'm always very, very excited to see that. And that's one of the ways that I've added value to someone through volunteering here in the UK.
And so, Gian, just thinking that, you've described a couple of things that showed your journey to the UK and your mentee's journey to the UK, and there's some similarities there. And I wonder how important you think it is that people can see their journeys in their volunteers almost. How important is that lived experience and diversity across volunteering that makes a difference to people?
Diversity is very important. And the reason I said diversity is very important is this. Now, let me say this. I'm a Christian, and I believe very much that God, who created people, endowed different people with different gifts. Everyone has something to give, irrespective of where you're coming from. And everyone, you see, there's an adage in the part of the world where I'm from. It says, only God is the only one who embodies all knowledge and all wisdom. But what done is given to every human being, is endowed us with intelligence in part. So we all know in part. So there's something there's something that David knows, there's something that Ela knows, there's something that Amanda knows, there's something that Soji knows. And all of these things are like puzzles. When we all come together, fit neatly, and it's beautiful to behold. That's the beauty of diversity. No one particular person knows it all. There's something we all bring, that diverse opinion, that diverse intelligence. When you bring them together, it produces something really beautiful. That's why for me, diversity is very important. We need to embrace diversity because we all know in part. And those things we know in part, when we bring them together, they fit together like puzzles to create something really, really beautiful.
And that cohesion it creates across cultures and tolerance and learning are all those byproducts, aren't they, from the relationship of volunteering, which is fabulous.
Yes.
Tilly, I'm going to come to you because a lot of your work hasn't necessarily been around volunteering with other individual people. It's been trying to change a system, which is often harder, isn't it? It's trying to change communities and societies to include people better. And you've been doing that in your work in Blackpool with I Will. So tell me about some of the things you've been working on to try and make a difference to young women in Blackpool.
So recently, I think my group, we've been doing work with sexual harassment, specifically on public transport. And my group, we all had a conversation and we were like, oh, a lot of people we know have experienced sexual harassment and we've experienced sexual assault, unprotected places like public transport, like the buses. So my friend Ella, who I love, by the way, that's great. She got in contact with Blackpool Transport and she spoke to Vicky, which I think she's head of Blackpool Transport. She was trying to get it recognised and get it heard, because most people, after they've experienced things like that, they don't know where to go and they feel like they are voiceless and they feel like they can't speak to anybody about it and they are like trapped. And she was like, we know a lot of people who've experienced this. They don't know where to go. We would love it if you could help us make other people feel more seen. And recently we have all been seeing it getting out there. So on buses now, they put up little posters saying, call this, if you've ever experienced sexual harassment on buses or public transport, call this number. You are seen, you are heard. And even though it's quite little, it is a stepping stone to making progress to get to the places that we need to be, especially on really big topics like that. And we also went to Parliament with it. We hope, we dream, we pray, we all do, that it will get bigger and someday we will get what we want and what we need and we will get the help that we all want. Yeah.
So taking on a system for young women in Blackpool will probably change the safety of everybody on buses in Blackpool, actually, because it's not just young women, it's all women, but also maybe people who are gay or transgender or disabled or older people who might feel afraid on buses. You start to have that ripple effect that Soji talked about, isn't it? You tackle an issue because you feel passionate and you've got an experience about it, but the ripple effect goes on. And sometimes you start this work not knowing what impact you're going to have, and you just have to go with the journey, right? You never thought you'd be talking about it in Parliament or that you'd have posters in buses all over Blackpool. I mean, really amazing achievements. And Ella, I'm guessing you equally have been trying to change systems and things to improve for others through your work. Do you want to talk a little bit about where that's led you and the difference you think you've been able to make?
Yeah, so with my main focus being mental health for quite a while, I really wanted to promote early intervention and raising awareness. And then also, I'm a filmmaker, that's my job. And so I also have partnered with charities and created films to do with mental health representation, because when I was a teenager, I saw a TV show with a very graphic suicide scene, and that was broadcast to millions and millions of young people. So I set about and really tried to campaign to change the representation and what's shown in TV shows, because like when I was a young teen, mental illness, mental health, it was never spoken about in schools. We were taught physical health, we were taught don't eat junk food, stuff like that, but never ever was taught anything to do with mental health or mental illness. But then also we'd be shown TV shows that were aimed at teenagers and aimed to, grab attention, but that promoted really negative representation. So I kind of tried with both of those aspects. And now I've managed to go into schools, and I remember speaking at one about my experiences and expecting no one to ask any questions or to maybe not be too engaged. And so many people put their hands up and actually ask questions. Like I remember one person saying, if I recognize, say, certain symptoms in my friend, how do I support them? How do I talk to them about it? How can I be there for them? What can I do? As well as recognizing if you're struggling yourself. So I think that's been amazing that now going into schools and that people are speaking about mental health and mental illness at an early stage. And then, hopefully the representation and what goes on as well behind the camera with film sets. And there's a lot more like mental health coordinators on set now, and people and charities stepping in and really wanting to make sure that there's positive representation shown, and that there's always places that people can go for support if anything is mentioned or anything could be triggering. So yeah, I think those are kind of the two areas that I really wanted to focus on. And it's been amazing that schools and organizations have been making differences and have wanted to be having these conversations and to try and make a change.
Wow. And some would say you're too young to make a difference. Young people are, don't have the power to make the difference. Ella, you've been in I Will and Tilly's in I Will now. What would you say to those who say that volunteering is for older people, there isn't a place for young people in volunteering? What would you say to them?
That is really false. It's, I remember when I first went on the retreat with I Will, and people of all ages, people a decade younger than me and just so smart. I was just doing such incredible things and smarter than some people triple my age that I've spoken to before, because it really is just so much to be brought from all different age groups, all different experiences and backgrounds. And yeah, I think volunteering is for absolutely anyone and everyone.
And if I asked our RSVP colleagues who are volunteers in their 70s and 80s and 90s, I'm sure if I said to them, no, you're not a bit old for volunteering, they'd be saying, absolutely not. There's still so much we want to do. David, you've got a view on absolutely. Yeah.
I'm 69 now, so.
Great. So you've got at least 2 decades left at volunteering, if not more. That's what RSVP would say. So it really is for any age or any skill level or any background and demographic. But if you had that person in front of you, said, that's really interesting, and I'd be really interested in starting volunteering, but I'm just not sure I could do it. What would be that thing you'd say to that person who was doubting whether they should be a volunteer or if they could be a volunteer? Just maybe a sentence or two, your key ways we can really encourage others to step forward and give it a try. Who wants to?
So for me, I'll just say to you, just start. Just start. We're not perfect. A lot of things you're going to learn on the way. You're going to make mistakes, because volunteering doesn't just impact the people that you're helping, it's also going to impact you. So if you start out, you're going to make mistakes. It's part of life. And you learn from that and you get better.
You can't kind of state that, really. It's so integral to that volunteering experience. What would you say, Tilly? I'm going to come to you. Somebody's in front of you, a young person saying, there's no point me volunteering. I can't really make a difference. What would you say?
I'd say do it. Don't knock anything until you try it. And especially don't knock helping other people. Even if you don't think that it helped you and you won't be good at it right now, you will grow and you will see how much you can get and how much you can give to other people by helping them get out of situations you could have been in. They need serious help to get out of.
That's lovely. Thanks, Tilly. David, any other words of wisdom in terms of helping people think about starting their volunteer journey?
Go in the strength you have.
And we don't know sometimes the strength we have, do we? Until we allow ourselves to kind of reach into it and dip in and see what we do.
If somebody's got a bit of a problem, this thing, you don't have to do it all.
No.
Even if you just do one thing, you move somebody one rung up the ladder towards a better place. Somebody else can then move them up a couple more.
Absolutely. And those small acts of kindness that you talked about. And then the other bit is you're not alone as a volunteer. So if you're volunteering for I Will or as part of Volunteering Matters, you've got an organisation behind you. That's the other bit, right? You're not having to do it all on your own. You've got people who are there to support and advise and guide and bring you together and give you training and all of the things that really help people on their volunteer journey. So you don't need to do it alone. And trust yourselves. I think that's really important. Ella, anything from you?
I would say to not let even the thought overwhelm you. I think sometimes it can seem like you're going to be giving so much time up. But even with I Will before, I've done something that took half an hour. You don't have to think that you're going to sign your whole year away. You can really do so much even with a small amount of time too. So don't let that overwhelm you.
Absolutely. And dipping in and out. I know at times in my life I've had more time and I've been able to commit to regular volunteering, and at other times I've had less time. So I've helped out an event or a community day. And all of those things are valuable, aren't they? And they all make a difference. So there's no hierarchy in volunteering. We can do what we can do at the times in our lives that we can offer some space and time for others. Anything else we want to say before we wrap up the podcast? Have I missed anything that you really wanted to say about volunteering or your volunteer experience? I'll just give you a little bit of space so you can say that now.
We're all part of humanity. And sometimes people need to be reminded that you're not in this on your own. You have a social responsibility in society. And sometimes you won't know what you get out of it until you try.
Yeah.
You don't know what the temperature of the bathwater's like until you put your foot in it.
Yeah, exactly. And there's nothing more human than volunteering your time and your energy to another person. That humanness is central to our volunteering experiences. Yeah. Any other final thoughts before we finish today?
I would say that sometimes it seems like there's such huge problems that are really unfixable, but to never underestimate how, one individual person paired with another taking small actions, how much that adds up and how much that contributes to fixing the problem. If it seems like you're never going to make a difference, you are. And especially if you have that mindset, then hopefully more people will too.
Wonderful. Thank you.
There are always givers and there are always takers. And I just want to go out knowing that I've given more than I've taken.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I just want to say what a joy it's been to listen to you all and your experiences and your stories, and how lucky we are to have people like you in our communities who are givers, who are human, stand up for things that they believe in, that work with others to try and achieve big things and small things. And I'm really pleased that you've also gained a lot yourselves from the act of volunteering, and that's enriched your lives as well, whether that's making you less lonely, whether that's cementing your skills, whether that's giving you a community, or whether it's giving you hope and a sense of satisfaction that you can look back on your lives and say you gave more than you took. All of those are really valuable things. But I also want to say a big thank you, because we should be appreciating our volunteers every week, but especially in Volunteers Week. Thank you for the time you've given to Volunteering Matters, to I Will. Thank you for your energy, your courage, your honesty today. And I can't imagine anybody stopping you as a group volunteering ever. So I'm sure there'll be many years of giving to others to come. But thank you so much for joining me today and sharing your experiences.